Hey guys, welcome to the Perfectly Wasted podcast. I'm the host, DullOxide. Today's episode is episode 70 on net neutrality. You can find all of my previous episodes on the Drinking Wisemen YouTube channel, along with my very sporadic now podcast, Brew the Truth, which I am always looking for guests on. So if you have a topic you want to talk about, you like to have a couple of drinks, by all means contact me. You can additionally find all my photos, cat photos, cosplay photos, day-to-day photos on my Instagram at DullOxide. So, net neutrality. Everyone's talking about it. It's all over the place. Everyone has something to say about it. I've got something to say about it. Of course, I have something to say about pretty much everything. So, net neutrality is kind of a big deal these days. It was not so much a big deal a couple of years ago when we didn't think anyone was going to do anything about it, when we didn't think the internet was really at risk. Basically, the best comparison that I've heard so far is comparing this to current cable providers. So what they're trying to do is pass these laws, and these laws are going to allow internet service providers, also known as ISPs, which is just the shortened version, the abbreviation for internet service providers. But ISPs are trying to go through and get these laws passed that'll allow them to basically put restrictions on your internet usage. Now, we're already seeing these types of restrictions anyways. A lot of people are seeing kind of like they have bandwidth caps or restrictions from going to certain sites, or you might not have all of the internet, things like that. You probably don't have all the internet if you're out of country or you're in Korea, for instance, or certain parts of Korea or things like that they have basically no internet. But that's kind of neither here nor there, although it is some sort of restriction on the internet. And that's kind of what we're looking at. So if these net neutrality laws get passed, it'll allow internet service providers to go through and start to make changes to what you see on your internet. Similar to how when you go to Fox News and you watch Fox News, you're going to see news specifically kind of oriented towards a certain political party, let's say, for instance. So that's kind of the same thing, all right? So what they're trying to do is they're trying to restrict our access, and they're trying to make it so that basically you can pay more to have your website get higher bandwidth. Now, what does that mean? So in layman's terms, it's kind of like you can pay more money if you're somebody like Netflix, let's say, to have it so that your streaming quality is higher, which means that you have a higher bandwidth, basically. And that's going to make it so that the content of a video will come to the consumer, like myself, faster. So if you aren't Netflix or YouTube or Google or one of these websites, for instance, that has billions of dollars at their disposal, that's able to just throw billions and billions of dollars at these kind of problems, then you're somebody that maybe is doing a startup or maybe has just made a website for fun. So you're one of those types of people. Now, the reason that this impacts you is, let's say, for instance, that, again, you don't have the money to throw at this type of problem. Then what happens when net neutrality laws get passed? So you're the type of person that maybe, like my girlfriend, has a webcomic and it isn't extraordinarily popular and maybe doesn't make any money at all. So in that case, then people will try to visit your website, and depending on your ISP, they might find it not appropriate for use, for instance. So you might not even be able to go there. All right. They might have blocked it. Why? Because they decided to. It's Monday. They decided they didn't want to have that site come up. Or you might go to this site and you might find that it loads kind of slowly compared to like going to Google and searching something, or going to Netflix and, watching a video of some kind, or YouTube and watching something that's sponsored, things like that. So you might find that the images load kind of slow, the page is kind of slow, kind of clunky. It seems like a page that, maybe was made in the 90s, and you don't really want to read anything from there because, like, why would you want to go to a page and have it be slow? You pay for internet access. You pay for speed. So that's kind of what we're looking at, is we're looking at a world, basically, that if these kind of things get passed through, the net neutrality, if they allow this kind of shit to go through, then we're looking at them enabling companies, basically, to go through and allow us to have access to things. I mean, just Think, for instance, if all of a sudden your cell phone provider said, you can't call out of the United States. Ever. Ever. You can't call out of the United States. That's fucking shitty. That's really shitty. And that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to tell us that, like, okay, for instance, in other countries, they can't get to certain United States websites, or they can't get to other country websites, or anything that is outside of like the .com realm, or anything that might have news about anything outside of their country, for instance, like in Egypt. All right. There are countries that already have this, that they're just looking for ways to speak. Net neutrality is the type of thing that when it gets passed, opens the floodgates for all of these different restrictions. All of a sudden, we can't see what's happening in, Asia or anywhere else inside of Europe or in Africa. We're just not going to get the news. Why? Because the cable companies can be paid off to not show it to you, basically. And while that's kind of an extreme case, and it could potentially not happen, all that has to be there is the ability for money to be spent. So if money can be spent to stop you from looking at something, or money can be spent to help you see something faster, the cable companies are always going to go for the quick money grab. And they just don't care. They don't care what the consumer wants. And that's very apparent by, and I said cable company earlier, I mean ISPs. For me, for instance, that's my cable company. But internet service providers don't give a shit. They want what's best for their wallets, what's best for their shareholders' wallets. So if they can go through and they can restrict your access in some way, or they can make somebody else's website faster that basically sells more or gets them more money, they're going to do it. And the bottom line is that they really don't care about the consumer. Just like most big companies don't care about the consumer at all. They don't care about us at all. All they want to do is make money. And while we give them money because we are the consumers, they try and decide what is best for us through what is best for them. And that's how they make money. And it's just apparent everywhere. Years and years ago, football games, baseball games, basketball games, all of these were shown on normal channels, regular cable channels that were in a regular cable package. We didn't even have cable packages like this. It wasn't like, oh, what's that? You like football? Well, you can get the all-inclusive football package. Bullshit. That wasn't how it was. You just watched fucking television and you got TV. You got news channels. You got movie channels if they had them. I mean, pay-per-view and things like that were kind of around, but really you just kind of watched television and like older movies, and that's kind of just what you watched, and that was inside of the basic package that included everything at the time. Now you have packages that include the movie channels, that include the pay-per-views, that include the football, basketball, baseball, any sport that you could ever imagine. There's a special package for it that you have to pay for. Who wants that? Nobody wants that, is the answer. Nobody wants to go and pay more for something that they got previously for free, or that was included in something that they already had. I mean, look at things like the unlimited packages that we used to have from our carriers for cell phone providers, all right? Everyone used to have unlimited. Why? Because data wasn't that important at the time. But then cell phone providers figured out that they could charge more for it because it started taxing their systems. Nowadays, it's a little bit more believable with, 1080p video and things like that, where you're getting high def and more data is being sent back and forth. It makes a little bit more sense. But in a day and age where you can get 100 meg internet service for $50 a month, which is, given kind of high. You don't really need that. Not everyone needs that. All right. But in a day and age where that's kind of the norm, there's no reason why we should have restrictions on anything. If I want to go and I want to watch some fucking cat video on YouTube, I should be able to do it no matter what. No matter what. If I want to go to some private website and, read a webcomic, for instance, I shouldn't have slowdown because that person or that company or whoever can't pay to have their website be produced at a faster speed. It shouldn't be that way. And if you don't know about this, then you should really educate yourself in at least some way, even if it's just listening to me rant about things. And if you think that, I'm bad, just watch any number of other people that are complaining about this. It's a really fucking big issue. And if you don't want us to become a country like Egypt or somewhere else where, you can't listen to, I mean, God forbid you can't listen to me anymore, but you can't listen to me because I have something to say that's against what the government thinks is right, basically, then by all means, look into it. By all means, let me know what you think, okay? So, with all that being said, again, as with episode 69, I believe the internet is a fantastic thing. It's probably the best invention that will be sprouted from a mind within our lifetimes, okay? But the thing that makes it good is that it's not restricted right now for us. So please look into it. Please go ahead and send a mail or anything, sign a petition, something to stop this from happening so that we have our free and open internet. And by all means, please do like, share, and subscribe to these episodes. Thanks again for joining us. As always, that was 10 minutes perfectly wasted.